And you know what I think we should try? We should try doing a cold open.
What does that mean?
It means you open up the podcast just kind of like trying to open with something and make a joke, and it's like you ever see a show where it just starts the show, and then at the end of the little like intro portion, then the theme song starts playing?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm talking about like that.
Okay, then do that.
We're doing it right now.
Oh.
Cue the music. Welcome back to the Content Swap Podcast. You are joined by Parker and
Aaliyah.
And this is a podcast in which we assign each other a piece of content every single week, engage with it, and then reconvene back here on this podcast and talk about our thoughts. Before we dive in, we like to provide a little news life update, a little bit of content we've been watching, etc., etc. So go ahead, take it away. What is going on with you this week?
Not much. I feel like last week was a lot of stuff, and this week was not much stuff. I finally finished. I just woke up. So
Recording right now is your idea.
I know, because I want to get it done because I have so much stuff to do today. But I'm realizing that I'm still half asleep.
We are here to enjoy this.
Yeah. I finally finished Harry Potter Prisoner of Azkaban, the book, not the movie, the book.
Yeah, what'd you think?
I really loved the book. It was great. I mean, I've been loving the books so far that I've read, and I think the third one is my favorite so far. But yeah, I don't remember what happens in the movies to be able to tell whether the books really follow the movie, or if the movies follow the books very closely.
From what I remember, that book does follow, the movie does follow the book pretty well, but the books just got more details kind of sprinkled in through the whole thing.
Yeah,
you know,
that makes sense.
When you watch the movie, you'll definitely just feel like this is just like a greatest hits version of the book. You know, it's just like it's like every scene, but just like simplified down.
Yeah.
Which, when you compare the book to the movie in that way, it definitely seems it makes the movie feel like it's not as good. But then when you actually kind of look at it in the pantheon of the Harry Potter franchise, I think that third movie is the best one.
Yeah. The third book, I will say though, made me question why they can't just use their magic for a lot of things.
I'm sure that'll all get explained in later books.
Yeah. I was just with the whole Hermione has a little time necklace or whatever, and they have to basically go back in time, but they can't, make sure they can't be seen or whatever. But I don't know. I just felt like there was a way to deal with the whole Sirius Black situation that they could have just used their magic to figure out everything, to make it all work out in the way that they wanted it to.
Well, I feel like in later Harry Potter, this is me just theorizing, but I know in later Harry Potter books, like in the fifth one, Order of the Phoenix, they talk about prophecies and stuff, and they never really come back to the time turner as a thing that they can use. But first off, as a device in writing, it's you invent that in your third book, and it's you gotta find a reason to just put it away.
Yeah.
Otherwise nothing matters and there's no stakes to anything, because you can always just go back and change things. So I'm pretty sure there's an in-universe explanation. Hermione's whole thing was that they gave it to her because she was so bright and they wanted her to take every single class or whatever.
She wanted to take every class.
She wanted to take every single class. And maybe they checked her prophecy or whatever, and they were like, yeah, she's supposed to take every class. I don't know.
The way they do, what's her name? Dirty, the woman who does divination.
Oh, yeah.
I'm wow, they're so traitor. I don't know, she doesn't know what she's talking about. Half the time her stuff is wrong. Tea
leaves are stupid.
But my favorite thing was the first class, in the book at least, in the first class she says someone will no longer be with us, and I forget who I think it's what's her name who turns Princess. Oh my gosh. Professor McGonagall, who's like,
Princess.
I know. See, that's my brain's not functioning. She was like, oh yeah, she predicts that a child will die every year. Like, don't worry about it.
Oh my God.
I was like, what?
But like, yeah, the crazy thing is that woman's not wrong.
I know. She like had an actual real like prophecy or whatever. It was crazy.
Harry had the Grim.
Yeah. And Hermione left the class. So technically her prophecy was right. Someone did leave and not come back.
Okay. Anything else?
I also finished the show The Curse, which I mentioned last week. And it was a wild show. The ending, I'm still processing because it's just like, what? Why?
Yeah, I didn't watch the whole show, but I caught the ending, and
yeah,
that's
like
different.
Yeah, it didn't really make sense, but was funny nonetheless. So I enjoyed the show. I think it's worth a watch. I think it has some interesting topics in it. And I was telling you, I was like, I think Emma Stone's character is such a great character because you just don't know how to feel about her. Mm-hmm. Like, you dislike her a lot, but then you also are like happy about some of the things that she's doing, and like that she advocates so hard for some things, but then like sometimes she's not advocating in the best way and she's then becoming the problem. And it's like she's such a complex character. Yes. And I appreciated that about the show.
Portraying the issue with nuance.
Mm-hmm, for sure. So that was great. And then the last thing is that we both watched Poor Things, and we can wait and talk about that after you go through your stuff. But that's really it in terms of like content that I've been engaging with. I'm making a mood blanket, a crochet mood blanket.
I thought you were about to say you were making a movie.
No.
I'm making a movie.
No, I'm making a crocheted mood blanket, and this thing is like, we have a king size bed, and I think this would like suffice as a whole like duvet for that.
Yeah.
It's gonna be massive.
Yeah.
And I'm unprepared for that.
Be like, hey, if we do actually make the duvet, be kind of interesting to be like, yeah, that was my wife's mood for a whole year. That's what we sleep under.
We sleep under her worst month. Where she was depressed the whole month.
Right. I got the happy parts. She got the sad parts.
Honestly,
we have to rotate it so she can get the happy parts sometimes.
The way it's looking, it's like the beginning and the ends of my months are great. The middle is like pretty rough. I'm like, okay, I'm seeing some patterns. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it turns out. We'll see if this might end up being just a whole gray blanket. It might have some up and downs. Who knows?
All right.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, for me, I'm like going from movies to shows to games to books. Movies would be Poor Things, which we're going to talk about in a second, so I'll save that. Shows, though, this week I did start Scavenger's Reign on Max, and as soon as I saw the first episode, I had to text like a handful of friends just to be like, dude, you gotta go watch this. Just go watch it. Like, I know this is exactly the kind of thing that you'd be into, so just go watch it. It's an animated show about people in space it's like a space crew that crash lands and gets stranded on this planet, and everybody's separated, and you're following each individual person's story vignette as they are trying to make their way back to the ship and survive on this unknown planet. But it's just animated in this very like surrealist, it's like simple, but then the interactions between the flora and fauna of this planet is very surrealist. It's kind of trippy almost. Check it out, watch it, and you'll see what I'm talking about. But I absolutely recommend it. I think it's a really interesting watch, and if you don't watch it at all, I will probably assign it in the near future.
Was this a show that our friend Laura suggested?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yes. Two of our friends were suggesting this, actually.
Mm-hmm.
As for games, I'm still playing Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, and just the more I play this game, the more I just fall deeper and deeper and deeper in love with it. It's just the funniest game I've ever played. It's the most varied game I've ever played. It's one kind of game, but then suddenly it's like, just kidding, we're going to be Pokemon for a quick second. And it's like, but then it's like a Pokemon style side quest that's just kind of like persistent throughout the game. So it's like, yeah, if you want to play Pokemon too while you're completing the rest of this game, like have at it. We've got that too. And it's just wild. It's just so fun, and I'm just really enjoying walking around Hawaii as this happy-go-lucky character who's interacting with all these people around him. Because there's just such an eclectic cast of characters and side quests that you'll go on. Literally, I just got an Instagram DM from you. You are not listening to me. You're on Instagram right now.
I am. I was simultaneously. It was really funny.
You're sending me memes right now.
It was really funny. I'm listening.
No, I just wanted to call you out. I'm like trying to look at my notes, and I see
Aaliyah saying,
Aaliyah sent you a post by Vladimir. I'm like, what is this? We're in the middle of a podcast.
I'm listening.
Yeah, just one little side quest that kind of really stood out to me as just weird and ridiculous was I was helping out a small child named Tony with his lemonade stand, and my whole goal was to help him with his lemonade stand and try and figure out which of the NPCs around me might be thirsty for some lemonade. And it's like this mini game where you got to go and find all the people and then see the little speech bubbles of what they're saying. And it's just kind of like a goofy thing of like everybody and their mother has suddenly spoken their opinion on lemonade at this exact moment where I happen to be handing out lemonade. So you'll walk by and one guy will be like, gosh, I love lemonade. I wonder if anyone's selling some. And it's like, oh, okay, cool, sweet. That guy clearly wants lemonade. And then some people will be like, woo, day 2 of my no lemon cleanse. And it's like, okay, that guy definitely doesn't want lemonade. And it's just these like awkward little things that it's just so goofy. This one person was like, sorry, I'm loyal to another lemonade stand. And it's like, what? And so the game is just full of little things like that. But then also, like, you help out this kid with his lemonade stand, but then you find out his whole backstory, that like he's an orphan, and the lady at the orphanage was really nice to him, so he's selling lemonade to save up to buy her a tiara that she said she liked one time before she moves away and gets married. But then it turns out that Tony, the lemonade stand kid, has an abusive uncle who wants to take all of Tony's lemonade money, and then you get into a fight with his uncle, and his uncle's like super dodgy when you fight him, and your attacks can't hit him. But then it all turns around, and then the uncle helps Tony, buy the tiara for the woman. And it's like, that was just a completely unnecessary side story in this game, but it's just like, oh wow, okay, you help a little kid with his lemonade stand, you find out that he's got an abusive uncle. It can go any direction in this game. You just don't know what you're getting into, and it's a blast. Also, the main character has a lobster named Nancy that just kind of pops up every once in a while. Like, she's just always on him, but then you'll go to the beach and she'll see like a hermit crab that she finds appealing, and it'll be like, oh, Nancy wants to talk to the hermit crab. And it's like, this lobster just comes out of nowhere, and it's like, what the heck is this? But it's adorable at the same time. Anyway,
cute.
Just wanted to say that. Say that piece. If any of that sounded fun or entertaining to you, I highly recommend checking that game out. I probably will not provide another update like that until I finish the game. Persona 3 Reload just came out, which I also want to play. This is just the year of way too big of RPGs and way too many of them coming out all in one year. So I don't know how I'm going to get by this year. It's going to be crazy because now I'm playing Like a Dragon. I want to play Final Fantasy VII Remake at the end of the month, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth at the end of the month, and Persona 3 just came out. Like, I don't know what to do. There's just too many games. As for books, I did not do any reading this past week. I've been reading The current book that I'm reading is called Chain Gang All-Stars, and I maybe have talked about it on the podcast before, but I'm just like really struggling with it. Like I first heard about it from one podcast that I listened to. They really recommended it, and so then that's what put it on my radar. And then you ended up getting it for me for Christmas, and I started reading it, and I'm about 100 pages deep. And the concept is really interesting. It's this big commentary on the criminal justice system in America, and it takes place in this like dystopian universe where basically criminals who are given a life sentence are given the opportunity to instead join like a gladiator arena system, and if they win enough times then they earn their freedom. And it is a very interesting concept. Like there's a lot about this book that I can absolutely recommend, but I think for me it's coming down to just writing style taste. And the book just has a writing style that I find very difficult to process and follow the story of. Like I'm really interested in the characters and the themes and the story and the like overarching narrative. I'm just having a really, really tough time following it. And that's a really like tough thing for me. So I'm unsure right now if I'm going to finish it because I want to keep reading books, but then when I think about the idea of reading the book that I'm reading, I'm like, well, I could go play Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth and find out about Tony and his abusive uncle, or I could read this book that I'm having a really hard time following. So I don't know. I might choose to put it down and pick up a different book just to keep the momentum on reading going. We'll see. But those are all my updates.
Cool.
Yeah. So what did you think about Poor Things? What did it all mean? Well, let's not spoil it.
Yeah, so I don't want to spoil anything. I really liked it a lot.
Cool. All right, on to the podcast.
I mean, yeah, that's... I don't want to say too much about it. It's such a weird, quirky movie.
Yeah.
But I thought it had some great themes in it overall. I thought the weirdness, like, I personally really loved it. I love very weird movies, like Tim Burton. I feel like this gives Tim Burton vibes.
Yeah.
But like much more adult.
much more adult in many different meanings of the word.
Yeah, it kind of like made me it kind of gave like Edward Scissorhands, but like to even more of an extreme of that. Like, I don't know, it was just very whimsical. It's like if you combined Edward Scissorhands with like Shark Boy Lava Girl.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, like that's kind of like the visual vibe you get.
Shark Boy and Lava Girl. I think you just mean like when I think of like the backgrounds, like the sky.
Yeah.
In Shark Boy and Lava Girl, for some reason, every scene in this movie has some kind of weird trippy sky.
Yeah.
Like that.
Like the buildings. Like at one point they go to like, I think it's like Greece or something like that.
Yeah, that part really stood out to me.
It was like so weird in the way that it just looked. But I think, you know, I feel like a lot of movies, which like is amazing, are, you know, trying to pinpoint these like kind of social issues that we face in our society. But with that, it's like, how do you create something that's new, that's innovative, but still shares this theme that maybe other movies have already tackled on, like talked about? And I feel like this does that. It like highlights a theme that we have seen probably in entertainment before, but it tackles it in like a very indirect way, right? And in a very like weird, like fantasy-ish way. I don't know if fantasy is the best word, but I don't know, just like it's not real. It's not like
it's not
real.
It's right. It's a little bit devoid from actual reality. Yeah, like it's definitely not set. It's definitely set in the past, but like in an alternate past for sure. Yeah. Almost like
like the way the society works in this movie is not the way our actual society functions, right. But it's like very similar.
Although it is.
I mean, it is.
But it's like it's not in how it functions. It's just like it's in how the environments look. Like no place like that actually exists.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It's taking like liberties with everything is much more like exaggerated stylistically.
So is that like dystopian then?
No, dystopian
What
is like
dystopian? What is
dystopian is
dystopian?
like
What is it?
you know,
Utopian or something?
okay. Yeah. Dystopian is like, you know, the society in which we're oppressed by the government, and things are just going horribly wrong.
I mean, is that not?
And then a utopia would be like, you know, everything's going right.
Got you.
I would not call it a dystopian because it's I mean, it's a commentary on like modern society and the rules in which we play in as human beings, which could be interpreted by some currently as a dystopia, but you know, I would describe it more as like a euphoria. It's very euphoric. It's very the whole film is incredibly experimental.
Yeah.
In that it's like you said, like it's taking big risks to try and portray all of its different themes. It's like there's a kind of a grand arcing theme, but then it covers all these little sub themes in a very pointed way that I thought was thematically rich. So yeah, it's not for everybody, but for those who are willing to get past the artsy fartsy barrier, it's pretty good.
But there's artsy fartsy that's boring, and it's like, this is clearly just meant to get an award.
Okay, at first I thought this was that. Like at the the first like 10 minutes of the movie, I was like, this is artsy fartsy boring, meant to get an award movie. But then it just got way more interesting.
See, I did not. Like, as soon as this movie started, I was like, yes, it's giving Rocky Horror Picture Show. Like, it's giving that kind of energy. And I was in. I was sucked in.
Okay. I thought it started to. I think maybe the first like 3 minutes or 5 minutes. Like, when you see Emma Stone acting at the beginning of the movie, I was like, oh, this is pandering to actors or pandering to what Hollywood wants to see. Like I was watching Maestro or something.
No, this is on a whole different level.
No, I know. I'm just saying, like, that was my impression in the first 3 to 5 minutes.
Yeah.
But then I was quickly proven wrong.
Yeah. Interesting. I had a very different initial perception. I was super excited because I was like, oh, this is some weird stuff. I'm here for it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like when I think of artsy fartsy, I think of something like Maestro, where it's like, it's just boring. Like, I just don't want to. I mean, I haven't seen Maestro, so maybe I shouldn't be saying that. But like, I don't know. It's just like these boring. Like, I think of like the very, dramatic acting as like I don't want to see that. I want to see Emma Stone be like an infant. Like that's interesting. I guess
what I felt was that I was going to be given something so abstract to interpret that it's almost like what you're supposed to interpret almost feels like way too big of a leap.
Yeah.
But it didn't actually end up being that. It's That's still fair. Abstract, and you still have to interpret a lot. Yeah. But it's much easier to ascertain like what it's trying to say than some more experimentally artistic works I've seen in the past.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right. Well, shall we get into the assignments?
Yeah.
All right. What is up first?
I think I am.
Okay. I think you are too. Last week was Patch Adams and Fargo, which means this week you're speaking first.
Awesome. I was assigned the movie Redline, which came out in...
You don't say it so excited. I signed a movie Redline, there's this, and this, and now we're done.
When did Redline come out?
Okay, so the movie's called Redline. Yes. 2009.
Wow. That's earlier than I thought.
Yeah, it is.
Or I mean, later than I thought.
Wait, later? Oh,
yeah,
okay.
I thought this was like a 90s movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so this movie is about a car racer named JP who plans to participate in a dangerous race called Redline. The race is supposed to take place on a planet called Robo World, but its president is like highly against this happening. The race commences nonetheless, and so the president unleashes this like massive weapon.
The president of Robo World?
Yes.
Yeah.
To take out the racers. But someone takes out the weapon, and JP is able to win the race, and that is the movie.
Yeah, it is.
I didn't like this movie.
Really?
Yeah. I just wasn't interested. I just wasn't interested. I was like having trouble following along. I don't know. It just wasn't appealing to me. I can see why someone might find it appealing. I will say, I think the animation's really cool, and I think the use of color in this movie, it's really beautiful and really striking, but at the same time a little overstimulating and a little like, I don't know, I just felt flustered through the movie because I'm like, what is going on? Like, there's just so much stuff happening, and
I'm like nodding because I don't disagree with any of this.
Yeah, there's like so much stuff happening.
Would you say it's very high octane?
I mean, I guess. I still don't really know what you mean when you say that. But yeah, and at the end of the day, I was like, I didn't care. I didn't care about this race. I didn't care about any of the characters. There wasn't one person that I like felt connected to, that I understood their journey, that like they were just in front of me and they did a thing and it was like, cool, whatever, we're done with this movie. So that's my thoughts.
Okay, I mean, okay, all valid thoughts. I would personally argue that you should not be watching this movie expecting to care about the characters or the story or anything like that. Like, this is a movie that is purely just made for entertainment. So yeah, when you say like, yeah, I didn't care about any of the characters, I'm like, hey, me neither.
Yeah, but what's entertaining about it?
What's entertaining about it is the animation is on like 12. The animation is insane. It's like it's the choreography of it all. It's the combination of how everything is drawn, how everything is colorized, how the style of it all, the way that it weaves from like one shot to the next. It's just like, it's so high energy. There's just all these special effects, the sound, the music, everything just kind of coming in tandem to just make like the most extreme like car race in space story as possible. Like, let's not emphasize your connection to the characters. Let's just make this weird universe full of this insanely eclectic cast of different characters. Let's not focus on any one character too much. We'll have like, the main character who's kind of like the anchor, JP, but we'll just flesh out this like weird universe, and it's a movie. You don't have to worry about like keeping the story coherent over longer than just like an hour and 40 minutes. It's just like, it's all about competing in this race and winning the race, and along the way, like, let's just make it as bombastic as possible. And do it through the animation medium to basically tell a story that's impossible to tell. It's impossible to present this in live action, because like you just wouldn't. It would be literally impossible. Like this style is only achievable in animated like hand-drawn format. The first thing I wrote down was, this is the most insanely over-animated movie I've ever seen in my entire life.
Yeah, I wrote down notes that were like, I feel like I'm at an arcade. I feel like I'm at a club, like, and this would be playing in the background. I said that it feels, while we were watching it, I was like, this feels like something Mordecai and Rigby would be watching. Like,
on
I don't know.
Show?
Yeah, on the regular show, which I love that show. Like, yeah.
So like, what?
it's
Let's
just-
talk about that. What does that mean? Like, what do Mordecai and Rigby watch on a regular show?
Like, I feel like they just watch, like, I feel like I don't even know how to describe it. It's just a feeling that I had. Like, I just felt like I was Mordecai and watching this thing. I feel like they watch, like, or what they're entertained by is this, like, very dumb, like, nonsensical kind of entertainment that's just so high energy and, like, insane.
Yeah, it'd be like Omega Death Punch.
Yeah. And, like, that's exactly the energy this gave.
And I would argue that is the point. That's
Yeah.
like, that's the appeal of the whole thing. Like, when you said that when we were watching it, like, I feel like this is something that Mordecai and Rigby would be watching on a regular show. I was like, honestly, like, great. That is a perfect compliment to what I think they were trying to achieve with this movie.
Yeah.
It is dumb.
Yeah.
It's like it's dumb. I'm not here to try and say like you should care.
Yeah.
Or that you should think it's a sophisticated piece of media. Like, not at all.
Yeah.
Okay, like, the whole time I was afraid that you were gonna hate this movie, and because I knew you were gonna like it. Like, I just knew this was not made. You're not the target audience here. Like, this was not made to appeal to you.
Yeah.
The last note I wrote was like, this is like the ultimate male gaze movie. It's got,
oh my god. Don't even get me started.
Well, I'm just saying, like, it's got cars and machinery and like action and all this stuff, but then it's got like some gratuitous objectification of women that is not my favorite part of the movie. But I do think when you describe it as like, what would be the ultimate man movie that men would want to see, it's like, yeah, it's got all that crap.
Ew. I hate that.
Yeah. The food animation was good though. Did you like the food animation?
I don't remember the food animation.
All right, whatever. You liked it.
I remember there was some like alien noodles.
Well, I remember. So, I just wrote down some of my thoughts when we were watching it last night. Because like, in the story, the fact that they like, it's this big Hot Wheels race basically, and they say we're gonna hold it on Robo World, and Robo World's like, we didn't consent to that, and they've got like all their military secrets and stuff, and there's like some kind of like Nazi adjacent imagery with like when depicting Robo World to basically just say like, you know, they're evil and people don't really like Robo World. I just kind of thought it was like hilarious to watch this movie and be like, okay, so this is basically like, what if the entire world decided we want to have a Hot Wheels race in North Korea against their consent, and we shut down all of their weapons and said, all right, let's race, and we're going to steal all their military secrets in the process. And then we find out, it turns out they had like an Akira-Zilla in the basement, and that interrupts our whole Hot Wheels race. Like, that's the most insane thing I've ever heard, but that's the perfect, like, dude, that sounds awesome.
Oh my gosh.
Kind of setup. So like, yeah, I understand why you didn't like it, but I don't suppose I expect you to understand why I liked it. But
I think it makes sense why you liked it.
Okay. That's fair. I just like, the appeal of this movie, like, not just with, you know, like the high octane action cinematics and all that, but like the fact that every character is so like inventive and weird. It's got a kind of a similar appeal to One Piece in that regard, and that like the universe of One Piece is like so strange that anything can happen, and like, yeah, there'll be like a talking reindeer, and that's just kind of like a normal thing. And this kind of has like a wide variety of characters because it's set in this like fictional space universe. But But something that I really appreciated about the animation style that I never noticed before was that this movie has this like unique style of shots where they will put the subject of the shot like really close to the camera. I mean, it's there's no camera because it's animation, right? But it's like any subject that's like right in front of the shot, they'll kind of like bend it slightly to give it this sense of like almost like a fisheye lens, to kind of mimic the effects of like an actual camera lens. And it's not just giving you the drawing in a 2D plane. It's like it's using perspective to like bend the foreground in a way that gives it this like very unique, almost kind of like stretched out look. And I thought that was really neat. As soon as I noticed it and I started paying attention to it, I was like, this is insane. It's just really well done from an animation perspective. This movie makes me think about Akira. So when we talked about Akira, it's a movie came out in 1988. Like when Akira was being made, it was all about pushing the boundaries of what was possible in like the 2D animation medium, and Akira definitely achieved that. When you look back on Akira and realize that it was made in 1988, you're like, whoa, that's crazy. And you know, Redline is like another example of a studio basically blowing their whole budget for the sake of like innovating in animation in some way. It's like these kinds of movies do not get made very often because studios can't afford to make them. Famously, this movie, it's not like agreed upon whether or not this happened, but this movie was said to have like bankrupted the studio that made it, which some say is a false rumor. Some say there's some air of truth to this. They mostly just say that like this studio, Madhouse, they've made a bunch of different movies. They made Ninja Scroll. I think they might have been involved in making Perfect Blue. But a lot of people say like their unique talent from that studio left soon after making this movie. I think the founder of MAPPA used to work for this company and left sometime after this movie came out. And some say that the company just like got all their shares bought and they're still operating, but because they don't have any of their unique talent anymore, they're just another studio for hire. But like, it cost them like $30 million over the course of 7 years to make this movie. It's got over 100,000 hand-drawn drawings in it, which is an insane amount, especially for a first-time director. And it only made $8 million. So no wonder that it bankrupted the studio that made it. For reference, so it was estimated $30 million budget. For reference, Akira apparently cost $11 million. Princess Mononoke cost $24 million. Perfect Blue. How much do you think Perfect Blue cost to make?
I don't know.
Just make a guess.
15.
Perfect Blue cost $900,000 to make.
Wow.
Yeah. And then the highest budget I found for a 2D animated movie was The Tale of, or at least a Japanese animation movie, was The Tale of Princess Kaguya, which is a Studio Ghibli movie, not directed by Miyazaki, that cost $53.4 million. Excuse me, I just burped. That movie cost $53.4 million to make. But for reference, I looked up like how much did Frozen cost to make? And Frozen cost $150 million to make. So it made me wonder, like, why do we do 3D animation if it costs so much more than 2D animation? Is it for the sake of like visual effects? Like,
but does it? Don't people always argue that it's cheaper?
They say it's cheaper, but like, is it?
Well, I mean, you have to think about the time in which those came out.
I mean,
too.
Redline was made in 2009 and cost $30 million, and you saw what that movie looked like.
Yeah.
And Frozen cost $150 million and came out, what, 5 years after or 4 years after.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But I feel like the argument is always that it's cheaper to use.
Do you think maybe they just have more
CGI.
people working on something like Frozen? And that's why it's like it's
Maybe.
cheaper, but you can have more people working on it.
I mean, are things cheaper? Like, because this is originally a Japanese film, right?
Yeah.
So it's just like making stuff cheaper in Japan than it is in
That's
the
a
US
good.
as
That's
well?
that's a good question. I don't
Like
know.
I don't know. I feel
Like,
like there's
is
so
it just-
many things that like would go into
Right. Like, do they
why
pay
the
their
cost is-
animators as much as we
Right.
do? Yeah, great question. I don't know. All right. What? So I also thought about like Jujutsu Kaisen when I was watching this, because in thinking about like Akira and then this, where it's like, yeah, these studios that like one time decided to just overspend their budget and just make some crazy animation. I feel like now Jujutsu Kaisen is like the next iteration of that happening, but it's happening in the serialized anime format, which is like a stupidly ambitious thing to do on the part of Jujutsu Kaisen. But like, we've heard the stories that have come out of the production for that, with people not getting paid well and et cetera, et cetera. So, or like the working conditions are just horrible. So it's, these kinds of things don't come out that often for reasons like this. So I just wanted to, appreciate that about this movie, because the animation is extremely insane. For me, ways that are like in all the best ways. So yeah. Last thing I want to say is, do you remember Machine Head's dog?
No.
You don't?
No.
Oh, there was just this funny scene where it's like they're highlighting the #1 racer in Redline.
Oh yeah, his like little like
and
Yorkie
he's
or
being
whatever it
interviewed, and
was.
he's just got like a little dog
Yeah.
with him, and he's like this big machine man. He's like, "Oh, I'm gonna win the race," and he's just got like a cute little dog, and I'm just like, it's just fun and weird. It's full of fun, weird little stuff like that, and I liked that. Okay, I have 2 questions for you. Did you have a favorite racing team and vehicle while watching this?
Not at all.
Not at all?
Not at all.
I feel like there was one part where you were like,
There was a cool, yeah.
Dope.
I think there
was like a magic
I can't
princess
say what I was
lady.
calling them.
Oh, right.
But they had like a sparkly pink car, and I was like, oh, that's kind of cool.
Okay.
Yeah. But other than that, not at all.
All right, let's say you were plopped in a fictional Hot Wheels-ified anime-like universe, and you were told you have to participate in this huge race. What kind of vehicle and persona are you adopting?
I would never participate in something like this.
Right, but let's say
know.
you had to.
I know. Oh my gosh. I don't know. Maybe something nature themed, and it'd be like an electric car.
An electric car and nature themed.
Yeah.
Quite the mashup. I dig it.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what I would do for myself. I liked JP's little like muscle car that he had in this. I thought that was pretty cool, and it was yellow. Good color choice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was into it. I agree with you though. Wasn't into his hair.
Oh my god.
He had this like
Johnny Bravo hair.
exaggerated Johnny Bravo Elvis hair.
Yeah.
And which they do, like, he ends up winning the race because like his hair is so long and he's like sticking his head out. So I thought that was a fun little piece of comedy.
Silly.
Yeah. Anyway, that's everything I had on this movie.
Nice.
Yeah. So overall, not your favorite.
No.
Got it. Well, the next time I'm hanging out with some guys and they say, man, I just want to watch some stuff blow up, but appreciate some great animation, I'm going to be like, well, I have a movie for you.
Who says that?
I don't know, but I'm waiting for it to happen.
You might be waiting for a while.
Yeah. I mean, the first time I saw this movie was kind of like that. Like, my brother's friend recommended it to me when I was like 18. So the movie had already been out for like 3 years. And then I watched the trailer for it and I was like, that looks like the coolest thing I've ever seen. I bought it on Blu-ray. I showed the trailer to a couple of my buddies and they said, that looks sick. and we got together and we popped in the Blu-ray and we watched it, and we were like, hell yeah. So, yep. It's just a good memory. It's just like it's one of those things where you see the meme that's like men will see this and say hell yeah. It's like that, but it's a whole movie.
Goodness.
Yep. All right, we can move on now. So I was assigned Clueless this week, which came out when?
1995.
1995?
Yes.
Okay. So I also don't know what this movie was about.
Fair.
So Clueless follows a high school girl named Cher, and she lives this like privileged high school life with her father and her ex-stepbrother, and she does things like help her teachers fall in love in order to improve her grades, or help the new girl find love and romance. And there just isn't really any central conflict in this movie, but by the end, she starts to realize that she has feelings for her ex-stepbrother, Paul Rudd. So they end up in a relationship together, and I don't know. I watched the movie, but for some reason, it's all just like this big blur, because there weren't any like narrative anchors to weigh down what I was supposed to be following and paying attention to. Like, I get why people like the movie and what makes it appealing to people, but I also want to kind of call out that it's about like nothing in particular. Like, I didn't understand like what's the theme of this movie? What's the takeaway of this movie? So, like the movie's title, I feel very clueless. And is that all the point? Are we all just clueless? Clueless, everybody.
Wow. A+.
Yeah, those were all my notes on this movie. There's a part where, so Brittany Murphy plays the new girl in school, and there's a part where she feels a little sick at the party, and so this guy that she has a crush on is like taking care of her, and they say, rolling with the homies, and that's my favorite part.
When I was a youngin', that was also my favorite part. And me and my sister used to always go, roll. You have to do like the hand wave, the rolling with the homies. We loved that. We would always sing it. But yeah, I mean, I think you make a fair point about what is the plot of this movie. I will say, so this movie is basically a modern retelling of Jane Austen's Emma. Which I think they ended up coming out with an Emma movie with Gwyneth Paltrow.
Is that about like almost like a Poor Things, like a woman coming into society for the first time and realizing that she doesn't know how to be and how to act or something?
I don't know. I don't know. I've never seen Emma, and I've never read the novel, so
gotcha.
I have no clue. I mean, that kind of sounds like what this movie was. I think the movie is really just Cher learning about herself, the world, her privilege, that sort of thing. And yeah.
And that she's in love with her ex-stepbrother.
Yeah. Which they make it clear it's
ex-stepbrother, not current stepbrother.
Which
it's
I'm
like
why? It's concerning that they were step siblings, but it's even more concerning because he's in college and she's 16.
Again, why?
And it's like, what?
Like, what do people go to this movie for? What are they looking for? What's the appeal
I'll say
to
my
you?
appeal.
Yeah.
My appeal is that it just feels like a product of the time. Like, it's like, first of all, the outfits alone, iconic. Which is, I think it's like probably the most iconic part of this. Like when people dress up for Halloween and they're like, let's do Clueless. They do the yellow like plaid skirt and blazer. Like,
I do remember her friend Dion
yeah,
was
played by Stacey Dash.
Yeah, very experimental with her fashion choices with some pretty interesting hats.
Yeah,
which like I'd wear one of those hats to a party.
I love Dion's outfits. Like, the fashion is just on point. And I think the second part too is like, it's just a simple coming of age movie, you know? Like, I always loved a movie where it's like it didn't need like a huge plot. It's just like, look at this person be a teen and grow.
Like, yeah, like what is she coming into exactly?
I mean, I think towards the end, like, because towards the end she starts to realize like how everybody has something about them that's special, and then she like, I don't, doesn't she start like volunteering and stuff, and like starts to try to like give back and like,
okay, sure,
yeah, I think she becomes less vapid and like less, yeah,
good word choice,
yeah, and less like self-centered, and like, I don't know, just starts to acknowledge a world outside of herself a little bit more, you know. So I think that's kind of what they try to come across. It doesn't do it perfectly, but I don't know, it's just fun. There's all kinds of slang that's just like super fun to listen to.
That's true.
Which I do have a little pop quiz for you.
All right, hit
if
me.
You would like to indulge in it,
go for it.
So I will say my favorite slang that's used in this movie is buggin', which basically means like
say that
tripping.
A lot.
Yeah. And of course the most iconic, which is as if, which is like, yeah, right. But she says something in the movie. She's referring to her being on her menstrual cycle, and she says, "I'm surfing the crimson wave."
Oh yeah.
And I thought that was so clever.
That was pretty funny, yeah.
But anyway, I'm gonna test you on your slang knowledge and if you know what they mean.
All right, go for it.
So, what is a Baldwin or Betty?
Ooh, I'm just gonna go with an attractive person.
Yes. So when they refer to a Baldwin, they're talking about like a handsome man, and when they say Betty, she's referring to like a beautiful woman.
Why is it Baldwin and Betty specifically?
I think Baldwin's supposed to be like Alec Baldwin, like, you know, Alec Baldwin.
Was Alec Baldwin
like
very handsome?
I mean, young Alec
the
Baldwin was
family known as
when they were
a group
young,
of handsome men.
Yeah.
I mean, I would say Alec Baldwin just like stayed handsome, but I would say his brothers definitely started to when they got older, they started to look a little.
I mean, Alec Baldwin. I mean, I hate to say this. I don't think he's like the most handsome now. In his older age,
definitely young Alec Baldwin.
Yeah,
for sure.
like Beetlejuice, Alec Baldwin.
I would just say that between the three, he's aged the best, or at least the three main Baldwins that I think of.
Yeah, and then Betty, I think, refers to the wife on Flintstones.
Yeah.
So
solid.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah. Do you know what jeepin' means?
Give me the context.
I think Dion says like, "Oh, you've been jeeping on me," like something like that.
To who?
To her boyfriend.
Does that mean cheating?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. To call, what does it mean to call someone a Monet?
Context, please.
She's a total Monet.
She's a total Monet. Oh, I remember. No. She explains.
She's a total Monet.
She explains this in the movie.
She does.
From far away, it looks attractive, but when you get up close, it's like ugly and it's a mess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. And last is Lodi. So, they're a group of Lodis.
Freeloaders?
No.
Stoners?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, that's some iconic lingo from the movie. And fun fact, to promote this movie, they decided, because all of this lingo was like, all this slang was created. People weren't like really saying this kind of stuff. So at least some of it.
Not all of that.
Not all of it, but some of it.
Buggin' was definitely a word before this.
Yeah. But because a lot of the slang was created to promote the movie, they distributed a book called How to Speak Cluelessly. That just like has breakdowns of all the slang that's used in the movie.
So basically what I'm hearing is that Gen Z needs their own Clueless, and they're missing out on fine moolah by not having something like this, because the things that Gen Z says, I need a guidebook for, I don't know, maybe it's just my experience as a millennial, but like, yeah, we can look at the 90s and be like, yeah, the slang and all that, like so strange and like so specific of the time. I feel like we're living that right now with all the things that
Yeah.
these kiddos are saying. So,
but I feel like that's the beauty of this movie is it's kind of timeless because like even though the slang is different, this is how teens talk. Like, you know, like this is the kind of stuff that they would say. And so I don't like, do they need their own Clueless? Do they need a remake, or could they just,
I don't know.
you know?
I mean, we are always learning new slang from teenagers.
Yeah.
You know, we had to get Riz explained to us last year.
Yeah.
From a teenager explained it to us.
Yeah.
So.
And I still don't fully understand it.
It means charisma.
Yeah.
Like, dang, that guy's got Riz, as in like he knows how to talk and gain influence from speaking.
Why don't they use the word suave?
Because nobody says the word suave. Only people who wear fedoras use the word suave.
That's funny. Yeah. Any other thoughts before I dive into more fun facts?
No. I mean, it's a movie that I'm not gonna jump at the opportunity to watch it again, but if it was, I think both of our movies, I would say, are like really great background movies that appeal to
very particular audiences,
individual genders, really. Yeah. Like my movie is a great background movie for men, and yours is a great background movie for women.
Not to I don't want to gender it.
I don't want to gender it, but I'm just saying, like, I don't know how to describe my movie other than just like a big old male fantasy. So,
if we're going based on stereotypical
depictions of gender, then I would say like both of our movies are great, like background movies.
Yeah. Okay, so some fun facts. This movie was originally pitched as a TV show that was supposed to be similar to Beverly Hills 90210, which I think it would have made a boring TV show. I don't know. They would have to fill it out a lot more.
Yeah, it's barely got enough to
be a movie.
Yeah, stand up as an hour and a half.
Yeah. Others were considered for the role of Cher, but it was ultimately given to Alicia Silverstone without her even having to audition. And on the flip side, Paul Rudd auditioned for every male character.
Wow. The heck?
And I don't even think he was given the role at first, and then they gave him the role.
Wow. And he ended up becoming the most famous.
Yeah. Speaking of Paul Rudd, so this is often referred to his like film debut.
Yeah.
But technically that was Halloween 6, The Curse of Michael Myers. But this movie got released before Halloween 6, so people consider it his film debut.
Well, yeah, it's his audience debut, but not his experiential debut. Yeah.
He was also apparently mugged when filming this movie, and his backpack was stolen, which held his script for this movie.
Ooh.
I know. The secrets got out. And then something you asked me. You asked if Murray, which is Dion's boyfriend, played by Donald Faison,
had real braces.
Yeah, you asked me, are his braces real? They are fake.
Oh, okay.
So they were not real. But yeah, that's really all the fun facts that I had. There was not much to this movie. Like I said, this is just like an iconic movie, especially as like a young girl growing up. I was super into like clothes and stuff, and so I just like, and you know, my little fantasy about California. So I absolutely love this movie. I thought calling someone a virgin who can't drive was like the biggest insult. I was like, I cannot believe Ty said that. Like, I thought it was so crazy. I was like, oh my gosh, she just popped off.
It's an absurd insult, but
it's like, why is that?
Certainly not something I would want to be called as a teenager.
Like, who thought of that? I thought Cher's little computerized closet was like peak technology.
Oh, that's right.
I was like, this technology is so advanced and I want it. I need it. I want to be able to dress myself on the computer, see what it looks like, and then it just like, you know, swipes over to my actual outfit so I can put it on.
It's like one of those Disney Channel.
I know.
Like, give you pick out Lizzie McGuire's new outfit.
Oh my gosh, I used to play that game all the time.
That was
it was a game on the Disney Channel website.
For Lizzie McGuire?
For Lizzie McGuire, you could dress Lizzie or Miranda. I don't think you could dress Gordo.
Lame.
Yeah. I mean, there was also remember that website like Paper Doll Haven or whatever, where you could dress a bunch of celebrities?
Not that one specifically, but I just conceptually, yes, I do remember that was a big thing.
I used to play those all the time too.
Yeah.
I'm like, I want to dress Lindsay Lohan. And I'd be so disappointed if their closet sucked. I'm like, you're Lindsay Lohan. Why does your closet suck? Oh you need better clothes.
That's rough. Yeah. I mean, you're just beholden to what they programmed into the game.
Yeah. You only have so many options. But yeah, so yeah, it's a simple movie. It's got its funny moments. It's got its cringy moments.
I think both of our movies are don't overthink it.
Yeah.
Types of watches.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, are we ready to get into
next week's assignments?
Yes.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, I can assign first.
Yeah, please do, because I'm kind of struggling.
Yeah, so you said movies, these were don't think about it movies. Well, this week's movie might also be one of those.
Yeah, and I'm not sure I want to keep watching don't think about it movies.
But it's top of my mind right now, so you're watching it.
All right.
So I was recently, one of my favorite YouTubers is named Kenny, and she does this thing called like Bad Movies in a Beat, but she also like takes on these like movie challenges. And so she recently posted a video that was her watching every Bring It On movie that has come out.
Okay.
And one of the very first movies I had written on my list when we decided to do this podcast was a Bring It On movie. And so I was like, oh,
Bring It On, All or Nothing?
Bring It On, All or Nothing.
Is that what you're signing
That's
me?
what I'm signing.
Ooh. All right. Yeah, no, good stuff.
I have been waiting for a moment to assign this because I absolutely love this movie because it is so bad and so fun to talk about. And yeah, I saw that. I was watching her YouTube video and I was like, you know what? Now's the time. It's on my mind. Let's do it.
Okay. Well, I think that reaffirms that I am definitely going to assign you what my original pick was. Mm-hmm. I think framing it that way, my pick feels more like something to get excited about. Mm-hmm. Because I think usually, I guess assigning what I want to give you as right after Redline, you wouldn't typically be like that happy about.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna give you the Batman and Robin movie from like 1995, I want to say, starring George Clooney as Batman.
I've seen that.
And Arnold Schwarzenegger as Mr. Freeze. You've seen that movie with Uma Thurman as Poison Ivy? Have you seen that movie?
I have seen that movie.
You've seen that movie?
I've seen that movie. I was very hungover when I watched it, but I have seen it.
You've seen that movie?
I have seen it.
Then why is it on my list?
I don't know. You've asked me this before, and I've told you I've seen it.
You've seen that movie?
I told you I've seen a bunch of the old Batmans. I did a whole marathon when I was really hungover.
With Arnold Schwarzenegger.
I don't remember Arnold
Freeze.
Schwarzenegger, but I remember George Clooney and Uma Thurman.
You remember Uma Thurman?
I remember Uma Thurman.
As Poison Ivy.
Yes.
Dang, I was so excited for you to be like, yes, icon. Uma Thurman as Poison Ivy.
I'm sorry.
Well, dang it. In that case, we're going to go with Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
Awesome. I have been waiting. There was a day where I was about to watch it and just not tell you that I've seen it because I've been waiting to watch it for so long. So I'm excited.
All right.
Great.
Yeah, that was my backup for it's. That's been on my list for a long time. So
perfect.
All right, cool. So then next week's going to be, what was your movie again?
Bring It On, All or Nothing.
Oh God. Okay, Bring It On, All or Nothing, or Bill and Ted's Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. So many words in next week's title. It's the morning. It's Sunday morning. Got some slack. It's 10 a.m. All right. Well, we hope you enjoyed this week's episode. A little short and sweet for you, and we'll see you next time for Bring It On, All or Nothing, and Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
Woohoo!
Have a great week. Bye.